Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video. In today's video, we are going to be saying the biggest flop from every Premier League club. So flop basically just meaning like spent loads of money and then they just kind of didn't get anything back or something like that. Or they were hyped and then they just didn't live up to the hype. But you know, I know that if you know of Fogden, I know he has recently done this video, but I swear I'm not copying him. Well, I guess I am kind of, but I had this idea written down for a while, but he just kind of got there before me, I guess. But yeah, so if you have similar players, well, I guess I'm sorry, but I mean, it's kind of, there are a few kind of obvious ones, really. But yeah, if you're new in here and haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video, and if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, we'll start off with Arsenal. It's kind of obvious, really. A person that's scored loads of goals in Liga and have struggled to find a net really in the Premier League, and that's Pepe. Pepe, they literally had to, they've had to do some mad stuff to get him into the club. Like, I believe they had to sack some people, or well, they had to at least go into some sort of debt to sign him, and they did, and they thought it would be all worth it, and it didn't. It wasn't worth it at all, really, was it? If you see his stats, it's just not lived up to what first was expected, and second, what he was doing in League. But, you know, I guess he just couldn't really properly handle it, but maybe he'll get better soon. You never really know. Next up, we got Wesley for Villa. Wesley spent a decent amount of money on him. I don't need exact money for every single person, but I just don't think he's lived up to the kind of money that they splashed out on him, and he wasn't really good enough striker last season to help them stay up, which is why they almost got relegated. And he's just not really that good, if I'm completely honest, and probably should leave because Ollie Watkins has replaced him very well, is what I'll say. Next up, we've got Brighton. This one's a bit of a controversial one. I'm going to say White. I just don't think he started that well for Brighton, because even though they did not have to spend any money, I think he was really hyped at Leeds, and it just hasn't really started the greatest, in my opinion. I might be completely wrong, but I mean, Brighton on the good end of the table and have still been conceding quite a few goals, and I don't think he's been doing that great. Just personal opinion. You guys might hate me in the comments, but you know. Next up, Burnley, another bit of a controversial one. We got Barnes, Ashley Barnes, striker. Him and Chris Wood, it was kind of between. I know like Chris Wood, I put into like really underrated, and he is really, because last season he definitely was. This season, neither of the strikers have just started off well. Even Vidra hadn't started off well, and you know, it was kind of between them, and I've just picked Barnes because I don't believe he scored this season, and just haven't really started the greatest. And yeah, I mean, Burnley haven't been scoring really, to be completely honest. Chelsea, this one's kind of an obvious one. Most expensive keeper in the world, I'll say. Does that ring any bells? Yeah, Kepa. So Kepa, of course, I think everybody thinks is a big flop and really shouldn't be at Chelsea's level, and especially not being the most expensive keeper in the world. And really should just leave and go somewhere else, just anywhere else, to be completely honest, because he isn't going to get any more game time, I don't believe, now that Mendy's back in. But you know, if you think about it, you're Chelsea, yeah, you've just splashed out loads of money on a keeper, but he's still like the same par as Willy Caballero, even worse than him. What else do I have to say, really? But yeah, that's Chelsea. We'll move on to Crystal Palace now. Christian Benteke. Benteke, I feel like he did relatively. I can't really say he did that well at Liverpool. He was hyped to go to Liverpool, and then he didn't really do amazingly there. And then he was just kind of sent out to Crystal Palace, and he's still not done. He's done terribly there. He's not. I believe he scored 1 goal last season, and he's played striker for quite a few games. Scoring 1 goal just isn't good enough, completely honest. And I think he's just past it now. I really don't think he can get back into it now. I just don't see any effort coming from him, if I'm completely honest. But that was Crystal Palace. We'll move on to Everton now, and we've got Tosun. Tosun, if you don't probably know him, he's he's a striker and was expected to be quite a lot. I believe he came for like 18, 19 million, and he really just hasn't delivered, and he's just completely flopped. If I'm completely honest, this was a time when Everton just had no strikers from it like at all. It was him or Nias at one point, and they're both terrible. And he was kind of brought in to be better than Nias, but then realised that he was about the same as Nias. So he's also a big flop for me. Fulham. This is an interesting one. I've gone with Lookman. I've kind of just said this because it was quite hard for me to pick somebody, and I just think that penalty alone, he probably should just be taking off penalties just for that. I mean, I might think it'd be really harsh, but if you think about it, 98th minute, this is to get a point, which in the Premier League, when you're a club like Fulham, you have to be like scoring to get at least a point, and the points are so important. And he just did what he did. I don't know what he was thinking. Like, nobody would have to be able to do that. And even like the best in the world wouldn't try that. It's so dumb, and that's why I picked him in. But he can easily just get a lot better. Leeds now. I've gone with another controversial one. I feel like this whole list is just controversial or like really obvious. I've gone with Meslier. It's really hard to pick Leeds. Completely honest, I've gone with Meslier just because of how many goals he's conceded this season. No other real reason, but it is kind of obvious that like that would happen. But yeah, I've gone with him just because of how many goals he's conceded. I'm not saying he's that bad of a keeper, just conceded a lot of goals, and it's really hard to pick anybody else from the Leeds squad. Leicester now, we've got Iheanacho. I think he was come from, I believe, Man City, yeah, and he wanted to get more game time and was kind of expected to be quite good, but he really wasn't, was he? And he just really hasn't delivered. I know he scored a few in the Europa League this season, but it's still not good enough. And I know he's a backup striker, but he's nowhere near with reaching Vardy, and I doubt he ever really will. But that's Leicester. Yeah. Next up, we've got Liverpool. It's kind of obvious. Adrian, absolutely, he's terrible. And I've said this before. If he doesn't get into a West Ham side, how does he get into a Liverpool side? And he doesn't. That's the real answer. He just doesn't. So I've gone through that before. I won't say any more about Adrian. But yeah, he's from my Liverpool. Man City now. I've gone with somebody called John Stones. John Stones, I believe, was about 50 million from Everton, and he really hasn't delivered, and has just kind of faded away, and nobody's really realised he's gone and been replaced by a lot of different people, and now he just kind of sits on the bench and doesn't really do anything because he really isn't that good, and he was going from being one of the best like young centre backs in England to just not even getting into any kind of squad really. So I mean, he could move and really help his career, but staying at Man City just isn't really it for him. I guess he gets a good bit of money for staying there. But yeah, that's my Man City pick. Man United, I've kind of got two. We'll start with Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard was tipped to be quite a good player, and I believe made it into the England squad once or maybe twice. But he's just gone to Man United. Done nothing. If you don't know, he's done nothing. he's just not it. He scored one goal last season, just one goal in the last game in like the last minute. And yeah, he's really not good, and he's just not Prem quality. I don't believe anymore, at least. Also for Man United, I've gone with Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire, it's kind of obvious really, 80 million for a centre-back. You're expecting big things, especially when he's doing what he's doing for England. And then you find out he kind of just... I know he still gets called up for England because he's done well for England, but he's just not done well for Man United and hasn't been solid enough for the 80 million that they deserve. But he has been alright, but he's just not been 80 million quality, and he's made quite a few mistakes, to be completely honest. But that's my Man United. I picked two, but it's kind of just fair enough. Newcastle, this is very obvious. Joe Linton bought in from, I believe, Hoffenheim for about 40 million and hasn't done anything. I believe scored 2 or 3 goals last season, and he really hasn't done anything. I mean, I don't really have anything else to say. I know people were saying it's a hard position to fill. Callum Wilson filled it easily. it's so stupid how he couldn't just how he's just changed so massively, saying what he was doing in the Bundesliga. But you know, I guess he shouldn't. He just should leave. I don't know. He's just kind of there at the moment. Sheffield United, I've gone with McGoldrick, similar to Joelinton, not quite as much money. Was brought in to score a lot of goals alongside um the other guy. Oh, I can't remember his name. McBurney, that's it, McBurney. But he hasn't really done so. I think he scored 1 or 2 goals last season and really hasn't been amazing for them. And it's probably the reason why they're struggling to score goals now, because they just don't have an out and out striker that's really wanting to score goals. But, you know, that's Sheffield United. Southampton, I found this one quite hard to do as well. I've gone with Yerry Lamina, coming from Juventus, was meant to be a massive name, and really hasn't done much. He's just been there and not really impressed that much, and now he just kind of sits on the bench, or I don't know, reserves if that, and he's just kind of faded away, and I don't really know what's happening with his career at the moment. Spurs now, this is kind of obvious, but also kind of sad. Dele Alli was tipped to be England's one of England's best prospects in the it could be one of the best prospects going at one point. But what's happened to his career? He's just I guess he just after lockdown he's just not really done anything, and I guess he did get punished. But even then, he's still not really done that well. I don't know if it's Jose or if it's just his personality or he's just want to play football. He's just really not delivered, and I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of his career, if I'm completely honest. But he isn't Tottenham quality anymore. West Brom now, I've gone with Charlie Austin. Charlie Austin last season was the top goal scorer for them, but completely honest, there was a lot of different scorers for West Brom, wearing the shirt right now. But nearing the end of the season, he just didn't really deliver and didn't come up with the goods, and we've been wanting to get rid of him, but of course we could not. So he kind of just sits in the reserves at the moment. He almost went to Derby. But, you know, and he just isn't Prem quality anymore. He was very good in that time when he was at QPR. But, yeah, he's kind of just passed it a bit. It's unfair to really say he's not had a good career, but he's just not really that big of a name anymore, even though he was kind of brought in to be a big name. But, you know. West Ham, I've gone with Haller. Haller, similar to Joelinton. About 30 million, I think they spent on him. Don't know the exact values, and he's really not done that well, and he's kind of just been replaced easily, and it's just the same kind of story to Joelinton, unfortunately. And when you spend that much money and they're just not really that good, it is a bit unfortunate, but that's the risk you take buying players from like a league like Bundesliga, where you don't know how perfect they're going to be after one season of being good. But, you know, that is the end of this video. I hope you did enjoy. I hope you did agree with me. If you don't, please put that in the comments below. Please don't get really angry at me. But, you know, like if you didn't like the video, subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching.